You ask Claude to build something. It starts brilliantly. 10 minutes later, it is writing duplicate code, forgetting what you just told it, and breaking things that already worked. You did not do anything wrong. The AI did not get dumber. There is a specific reason this happens, and once you fix it, everything changes.
Claude Code. Oh my goodness. I've been building in tech for 20 years, both as a founder and as a VC, but nothing has ever captivated me the way Claude Code has. Between building my own AI startup and even starring as a guest judge for some pretty major hackathons, I've spent over 1,000 hours figuring out what really works. So here are my exact plugins and step-by-step system I'm using to build my startup using Claude Code. All right, so to build properly with Claude Code, the first thing we need to fix is Claude Code's strange tendency to kind of go from super genius to complete idiot in the middle of a session. I mean, I'm sure if you've built anything with Claude Code, you've seen this happen. And you might think it's because Anthropic is dumbing down the model or you did something wrong, but it's not actually your fault.
The context problem. When you first boot up Claude Code, it has zero understanding of your project. It is completely blank. It learns about your code by building what is called context. But there is a massive problem with how this works. Think of it like memory. If I gave you 5 random numbers and asked you to remember them, you could probably do it. Spend 10 seconds looking at them and you could recite them back 30 seconds later. But if I gave you 5 more random numbers, you would start forgetting the first 5. And if I kept doing that over and over, giving you more and more numbers eventually, you would start forgetting everything, because I am giving you too much context. Claude works exactly the same way.
Is it builds what's called context. But there's a huge problem here, and I'll explain it to you with some random numbers. So let's say I said, generate me 5 random numbers. If I gave you these 5 random numbers and asked you to remember these, you could probably spend 10 seconds looking at them. And if I ask you in 30 seconds what they are, you can probably recite them back to me. But if I give you 5 more random numbers, you might start to forget the first 5. And if I keep doing that over and over, where I keep asking for more, then eventually you're going to start forgetting those first numbers because I'm giving you too much context.
The more you work with Claude, the more your context window fills up, and it starts to become ridiculously dumb, forgetting things you just told it a few minutes ago. That might be fine for forgetting silly random numbers, but imagine you are building a project. You start writing code. 5 minutes later, you have already forgotten the code you wrote. You start writing duplicate code, making a mess, breaking things. That is where everything falls apart. The fix: manage your context. To fix this, you need to manage your context window. Thankfully, there is a simple plugin that lets you do exactly that. In your terminal, before you enter Claude, type this command npxcc status line at latest. When you run this command, it installs a custom status line for your Claude code.
And thankfully, there's a super simple plugin that's going to allow you to do this. So in your terminal, before you enter Claude, all you're going to type is npx cc status line at latest. And when you run this command, it's going to install a custom status line for your Claude code.
From here, you can edit your lines. In line 1, set it to show the model a separator context percentage separator session cost separator session clock. In line 2, add the git branch separator and git work tree. You do not have to understand all of this now, but if you do not know what you are doing, set it up exactly like this. Now when you boot up Claude, you will see a new status bar that shows model context and more. This context percentage is the most critical thing you will monitor. As you give Claude any commands, even simple stuff like what is 2 plus 2, you will see the context windows start filling up quickly.
So now you can see when I boot up Claude, we have this new status bar that shows model, context, and so on. This context percentage is going to be the most critical. What you want to do is as you give Claude any commands, even simple stuff like what is 2 plus 2, you will see the context window starts filling up quite quickly.
Here is the rule. Anytime you see context creep up to around 50%, get suspicious, because Claude is already forgetting things you told it and getting dumb. You cannot wait until it hits 100% and starts forgetting. It gets dumb way sooner. If you want Claude to stop hallucinating and start writing real production-level code first, do not let your context go much past 50%. And yes, Claude has commands like compact, but here is the truth. Friends do not let friends compact. Worst of both worlds. You lose what you were working on in terms of context. You remember a little bit, but you still have that context poisoning from before.
to around 50% or so, I start to get suspicious because I know Claude is already forgetting things that I've told it and it's getting dumb. You can't get to 100% and then start forgetting stuff. It gets dumb way sooner. And so if you want your Claude to stop hallucinating and start writing real production level code, first things first, don't let your context go much past 50%. And yes, Claude has these commands like you can do compact, things like this. Well, one thing to remember, friends don't let friends compact. Worst of both worlds. You lose what you were working on in terms of context. You remember a little bit, but then you still have that context poisoning from before.
The real solution subagents. There is a way to make this even more powerful and ensure you almost never run into context issues again. Because even if you are managing context with the latest models, they burn through context really fast. The real solution is to launch subagents. Your main Claude terminal acts like an orchestrator, dispatching dozens of mini subagents to do things like write code review, code test bugs, and more. Critically, they do it all in their own context window. So you never run into these forgetting issues. And then when they are done, they report back to your main Claude code saying, here is what I did, here is the update. Superpowers, the game changer. Superpowers, like the name implies, literally gives your Claude code superpowers. You can orchestrate dozens of subagents in real time to build anything from simple features to incredibly complex apps. It is even officially endorsed by Anthropic. It is just not included out of the box because it was not actually built by them. Here is how you install it. Go to /plugin and you will see a list of discovered plugins. We are going to add some. The first being Superpowers. Superpowers allows you to move from randomly blowing up your context window and building whatever you want to using subagent-driven development with built-in code review, systematic debugging, and much more. It takes your vibe coding setup and automatically builds in the workflow that the world's best companies are using today to build software. It will ask how you want to install. Always just install for user scope. But we are not done yet. Go back to Plugin and add Code Simplifier as well. Exit Claude and go back in. You will see now Claude has superpowers. There are 3 core commands: Superpowers Brainstorm, Superpowers Write Plan, and Superpowers Execute Plan. The 3-step workflow. Superpowers Brainstorm is where you start any project. Let us say you want to build a web page for your VC fund that showcases investments and the companies you are directly incubating. You want it to look super cool and have cool effects. That is not a very specific prompt, but Superpowers knows how to handle this properly. It is going to explore the context, ask clarifying questions, propose 2 to 3 approaches, and then present a design document for approval. It is running an amazing workflow that you can copy and paste into your system. Claude Code runs through asking for context, asking questions, presenting different approaches, and ultimately building a design specification. Your job here is to review this. Do not just click yes to everything. Look and say, do I want a home portfolio about contact? Does this make sense for the data structure? You are still in charge. That is very critical when you are building. You need to be in the driver's seat. Superpowers will write a specification plan to your folder called docs/plans. It will build a Git repository for you, which is amazing. Even if you are not technical, it will do all the technical stuff and make it clean enough to build production-level code. Now you have a new 3-step workflow. First, Superpowers Brainstorm. This is how you build any feature. It asks clarifying questions, explores different approaches, and turns your idea into a specification document. Second, Superpowers Write Plan. This takes your specification and turns it into a real implementation plan with line-by-line code changes and all the details that make things production-ready. Third, Superpowers Execute Plan. This is where the magic happens. This automatically dispatches subagents, code reviewers, testers, all to turn your implementation plan into live code. Superpowers shifts you from ad hoc vibe coding to real specification-driven development. It is the same way the biggest tech companies on the planet like Netflix and Spotify are actually using AI coding. Upgrade the thinking. There are 3 more things we need to make it shine. First, we need to upgrade thinking powers. Now that we are relying on superpowers to do all the brainstorming, the better it can think, the better your product will be. The best way to do that is to install something called sequential thinking. What sequential thinking does is it uses chain-of-thought reasoning to allow Claude to think deeper longer and ultimately come up with better insights about what it wants to build. The install is a little more technical than Superpowers, but thanks to Claude Code, we can make it simple. Just spin up your Claude Code instance and say, "Please install Sequential Thinking MCP server." That is it. Claude will go figure out what sequential thinking is, how to find the MCP server, and set it up for your computer. Once it is done installing, restart your Claude Code instance. Now your superpowers have been upgraded to also use sequential thinking. Fix the knowledge gap. But all that thinking is useless if Claude does not actually know what to think about. One thing that happens a lot with Claude Code is it will hallucinate either outdated APYs or outdated information from its memory, which generally lags 6 to 12 months behind. So even though it is using superpowers and sequential thinking, it can still build things that break in actual live use cases. To fix this, you need to give it a data source of constantly up-to-date knowledge about all the other systems it might be using to build. That is where the next plugin comes in. It is called Context 7. Go to /plugin and it is an official Claude plugin. Click Enter Install for everyone. Once you restart your Claude Code terminal, you will have Context 7. What Context 7 does is it instantly gives your Claude Code up-to-date knowledge on every single API service and library it could ever try to build with. By adding these simple plugins and following this workflow, you have already turbocharged your Claude workflows. See the Work Warp terminal. Claude Code is great, but it is kind of like having a junior developer that says they are doing everything right but will not let you see their screen. You just have to close your eyes and hope they are writing things properly. Yes, you could go double-check their work, open up the files they are writing, but let us be honest. 1. We need to move fast. 2. It is pretty clumsy. Your files are not really linked to Claude. It is hard to navigate between the two. This is where the next tool comes in. It is an entirely new AY native terminal that makes it way easier to manage Claude Code, get work done, and see what is actually going on. It is called Warp. Warp is an incredibly powerful tool with a lot of different features. We are just going to use a few. When you open it, open your repository. It will ask for some permissions. Skip all those for now, because we are not using the built-in AI that Warp comes with. We are using Claude inside Warp. Open your repository and just type Claude. There you go. You are back to the familiar Claude interface. Unlike the regular terminal, which just allows you to run Claude Warp, has features built in that will make your life way better. First is the toggle panel, where you can actually look at your repository. Remember earlier when we used Superpowers to write the plan? You can click into this and see the exact plan Claude wrote, the implementation plan, the specification design. As it is generating different plans or code, you can be talking to it in the terminal lookover and see the actual work it is doing. This is so critical. If you want to build real things, you want to review these plans and say, yeah, does this homepage hero image sound like what I want? Does this portfolio toggle make sense? If it is not what you are looking for, you tell Claude. Just this ability to see the files and talk to Claude at the same time is a game changer. 2 other features. If you press Command D on Mac, you can have another Claude terminal instance. You can keep doing this and spin up lots of different Claudes. If you have heard about having multiple Claude Code terminals open at the same time, Warp makes that really easy. It also allows you to have new tabs. Press Ctrl-T and you can have tabs. Multiple terminals and tabs, very powerful to manage lots of different Claude instances, check the actual work it is doing, look at the docs, review them yourself, and familiarize yourself with your codebase. Warp is completely free to install. It will just make your life so much better. Claude Code on the go. To make it even more powerful, what if we could use Claude Code on the go? Yes, Claude Code has an official mobile app, but here is the thing, it kind of sucks. It cannot run local files. When you try to navigate to most web pages, most companies have blocked Anthropic from scraping them. And it only has about 10% of the capabilities of a real Claude Code terminal. The solution is another free tool called Happy Engineering. Just go to happy.engineering to check it out. It has Android, Apple web app, everything you need. Free, totally open source. The install process is super easy. Copy the command, run it in your terminal, do a little setup on your phone, and next thing you know, you have the ability to spin up real live terminals on your computer that you control from your phone. The terminals you control from your phone have 100% access to all the same tools you have when you are at home. You can use Superpowers Context 7 Sequential Thinking, all things you cannot use from the official Claude Code app. Because these terminals from your phone are running on your computer, when you get back home, you can resume the work on your laptop seamlessly like you never left. As long as your computer is plugged in, you can ship new features, new code, and actually build. Your AI is not dumb. It is drowning in context. Fix the context window. Install Superpowers to orchestrate subagents. Add sequential thinking for deeper reasoning. Use Context 7 for up-to-date knowledge. See the work with Warp. Build on the go with Happy Engineering. This is the exact workflow being used to build real startups right now. The AI was never the problem. The setup was. Now you know how to fix it.